Hi everybody and welcome to a recap of Game 9 of the Women's World Championship match between Wenjun and Lei Tingjie. After last round's loss, Lei Tingjie played white. She was trying to strike back, but she had to face a surprise as soon as move 1, c5 by black, by the world champion. But as Lei Tingjie said in the press conference, she was not surprised so much. She went for this 4 knights line after bishop b7, bishop e2, c5. This is a very topical line. Lei Tingjie came up again with a novelty in the opening a3. The point is that she takes away the square b4 from the knight, preparing to play c4. However, after rook c8, black has knight e3, which is the only move but a sufficient one. And here in this position we might say that there was maybe the only slight inaccuracy of the game for both players, as Lei Tingjie played the short castle here. A slightly more precise way to play would be to play bishop f3, queen takes bishop f3, queen f3. The point being that black cannot complete her development very comfortably here, because after bishop e7 there would be queen g3 hitting the pawn on g7, and black does not have a castle because bishop h6 forcing g6 is just winning for white. Lei Tingjie played a short castle. This allowed Wenjun to play bishop e7. The bishops are exchanged on f3, and now after a short castle, rook d1, f6, the game is pretty much equalized, as black managed to take care of the e5 pawn for white. And now a massive exchanges followed after queen g3, takes on e5, bishop f6, queen d6. The pawn is taken on b2, a3 is hanging. Lei Tingjie found the only way to continue and put some pressure, because after a move like, for instance, queen d7, the pieces are exchanged very fast. Or even if we play a move like rook a1, black has a very important resource, rook d8, using the fact that the bishop cannot be taken due to mate on the first rank. So after rook f7, rook b1 is the only way to really keep some life in the position, but Wenjun found a very strong move, bishop e5, forcing the exchange of the bishops and bringing the rook from f7 to a much better position on c5. Now c4 is hanging, so white needs to play carefully, and here again, time after time, Lei Tingjie finds a way to sacrifice a pawn for activity. She does it again here. She played rook b7, after rook c7, rook b1, sacrificing the pawn on c4 because d7 cannot be taken here because of checkmate. But she calmly plays g3. The d7 pawn is still targeted by the rook. After rook c7, simply going king g2, a5, and now it turns out that black pieces cannot move without giving up the pawn on d7 or losing a rook if the queen moves. So black was basically had to resort to playing king h7, king h8. But now after rook b5, basically white doesn't have much more going on for her as well. And Wenjun could have still played a calm move like king g8, but she decided to force the matters, and she did it in a very nice fashion. She played queen f6 here, the point being that if white takes with the queen on d7, rook f8 would hit the pawn on f4, and after a move like, for instance, f4, rook d8 would create some very annoying counterplay for black, although this is still pretty drawish. So Lei Tingjie decided to go into a rook endgame with queen f4, a very nice decision, because here white still has some very small, but at least some chances for to play for a win, although the world champion neutralized these chances very carefully and very nicely. Here the last point of the game was, the last trap you could say of the game was, had black played a2 here, white could force black to a kind of a Zugzwang, which would force black to give up the pawn. This would still be a draw, but an unnecessary concession. Instead, the world champion played rook a2, and here the game, after g6, another very precise move, the game transferred into a theoretical Philidor position, which is a very non-draw, and after those checks on the threefold repetition, the game is drawn. After 9 rounds, the match is still equal, 4.5 points each player. We have three games left in this match. All the excitement will be ahead of us. Thanks for watching.